What's going on, everyone? So, I was doing some meal prep in my kitchen on New Year's Day, just chopping vegetables and cooking chicken for the week ahead, and I had SportsCenter playing on my laptop on the counter, because I can't just cook in silence like a normal person. I figured they'd be doing their usual year-in-review content and predictions for 2026, nothing too groundbreaking. But then, I heard them start talking about the Warriors winning 5 of their last 6 games and going 2-1 on their road trip, and the analyst had this tone in his voice like, "But nobody really feels that great about where we are," which caught my attention. I stopped chopping and actually looked at the screen when he said he was going to hand out New Year's resolutions for the Warriors' Big Three, which I thought was a creative angle for analysis. But then the conversation evolved from New Year's resolutions into this really comprehensive breakdown of roster construction, rotation patterns, and then completely unexpectedly, they started discussing Mark Williams as a potential trade target for the Warriors in a way that made me put down my knife and just stand there watching. I ended up burning some of the chicken because I was so focused on the segment, and my kitchen smelled like burnt protein for the rest of the day. Let me walk you through everything that went down, because the way they connected player development to team needs to specific trade targets was actually some of the smartest basketball analysis I've heard in a while. So they opened with the Warriors having won 5 of their last 6 and going 2-1 on the road trip, but the analyst didn't think anybody feels great about where they sit in the vicious Western Conference and how things actually look. Entering the new year of 2026, he thought he'd hand out New Year's resolutions for the Big Three, which was a fun framing device for what was actually pretty serious basketball analysis. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we dive in, I need 1 second of your time. That like button right there, hitting it now makes a massive difference in reaching more fans with this content. I know you're ready for the breakdown, but real quick, just smash that like button. It's the single most powerful way to support this channel and help the algorithm push this to thousands more people. Every like matters, so do me that favor right now. Starting with Steph, the chef, the resolution was to lay to rest the over-the-head hook pass. You know the one, that desperation heave when he's getting blitzed. Does it ever work out? The analyst was giving Steph a hard time, but acknowledged that the way he gets guarded at his size, a lot of times it's kind of his only option. He's got to get rid of it quick. The analyst had campaigned for more pocket bounce passes, but you need the right personnel on the roster for that. Gary Payton II is kind of the only guy who wants that bounce pass. But what the analyst really wanted to highlight with Steph was how it's been really dope to watch him be very conscious about drawing fouls and intentional about it. Dare he say even becoming a bit of a merchant at times, meaning Steph's hunting fouls more aggressively. And look, that's part of getting older as a basketball player. When you're 25, you want style points, but once you get toward 40, you're looking for the path of least resistance. As Steph ages, it's like, hey, I gotta get it how I can sometimes. That being said, Steph's taking a lot of body hits and big shots to the floor, which makes the analyst nervous. But he thinks there's some osmosis happening with Jimmy Butler. When you've got 2 star players on a team together all the time, there's this, hey, you can do that, I can do that too mentality. Steph's not getting the and one continuation call every time, but he's making so many of these tough shots because he's thinking foul first, then shot. He's mentally prepared to shoot while getting contact. He's looking for the foul first, then the shot. And he's been getting to the line as a result. The analyst's actual resolution for Steph was simple: stay healthy. That's an easy one, but the most important thing as they head deeper into the season with Steph at 37 years old, and the physical toll mounting. For Draymond, the resolution was blunt: you gotta get in better shape. The analyst really dug into this one, saying today's breakdown was very focused on Draymond because he knows Draymond almost had a triple-double. And Steve Kerr said he's been playing really well on the road trip. But the analyst thinks Steve is kind of pushing buttons right now, realizing Draymond's frustrated and that his ego can be fragile as an aging player. So Kerr's purposefully saying positive things, even though the analyst doesn't think Draymond has actually been that good on the road trip. Defensively, Draymond aging and not being in great shape is leading to lazy decisions. Everyone knows he's the backline defender responsible for calling switches, but he's calling late switches and doing a lot of showing, then just backpedaling and standing in no man's land. The saying, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all," applies here. The fatigue of not being in shape combined with age wear and tear means Draymond doesn't want to play center. But have you noticed how he looks on the perimeter? He doesn't want to get out and defend there either. There was a sequence in the second quarter in Charlotte where Draymond got really frustrated and just stopped playing for like 90 seconds across 2 or 3 possessions. The analyst put it in his Patreon breakdown to push back at Steve a little bit, and sure enough, Kerr got Draymond out of there and put Andrew Wiggins in. When Draymond has these phases of minutes where he's frustrated and starts dogging it, that's the opportunity to sit him down, let him reset, and give other guys opportunity. And this is where the Mark Williams discussion started to emerge. Because the analyst was talking about front court rotations and who can actually contribute at a high level. He really likes the front line of Jimmy Butler, Gary Payton II, Guy, and Andrew Wiggins, Al. It's about as big as they can get. They all rebound. You've got 2 shooters, and you saw what happens when Guy gets extended minutes. The analyst has been beating the drum that Guy's a better shooter than people think. He told this story about being at Summer League a few years ago when Guy was still playing on the Summer League team, and between games you could walk down to floor level before security gets you. One thing you can't see on TV with a shooter is the rotation on the ball, how soft it is, how soft the release is, and how it goes in. That's something you can really feel in person, up close. His big takeaway was, dang, Guy is a much better shooter. He's really been working on his shot, but he hasn't had much opportunity to show it. And in the Charlotte game, Guy hit 3-3 and was all over the offensive glass. To be fair to Steve Kerr, part of the reason Guy doesn't get extended minutes is because he's a foul magnet and gets in foul trouble a lot. One thing he could do to stay on the floor is stop jumping to closeouts. Fundamentally, you're supposed to chop down with your feet, not hop. These hops leave him off balance, and he gets caught in bad spots. But Guy had probably his biggest game of the year, and when Draymond's frustrated and mad, the analyst likes going to the big athletic lineup with Guy. And this is where Mark Williams entered the conversation as a solution to the Warriors' front court problem. The analyst was making this point about how they need a legitimate rim-protecting, rebounding, athletic big man who can finish lobs and play above the rim. Guy can do some of that, but he's more of a wing forward. What they really need is a true center who fits that profile, and Mark Williams checks every single box. The tactical fit was emphasized first. Williams's style of play focused on rim running, protecting the basket, and rebounding fits perfectly with what the Warriors need from a traditional center. His ability to operate efficiently on both ends of the court would complement Golden State's dynamic playing style. When you have Steph and Jimmy creating with the ball, you need someone who can set screens, roll hard to the basket, catch lobs, and finish. Williams does all of that at an elite level. The championship aspirations angle is huge. The Warriors, led by Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, are considered a team with real title chances. For Williams, who's seeking postseason success, he's never made the playoffs in his career, joining a competitive team is a massive draw. At 24 years old, Williams is in that window where you want to start winning and building toward championships rather than developing on a rebuilding team. The long-term career plan was discussed as perfectly aligned with the Warriors' strategy. Williams is 24 years old, which means he aligns well with Golden State's approach of balancing immediate championship pursuit with developing young talent for the future. He could become a pillar of the franchise in the post-Curry era. When Steph retires or declines, the Warriors still need foundational pieces to build around, and a young elite center is exactly that kind of piece. The low-cost and high-potential aspect makes this even more attractive. Williams is currently on an affordable rookie contract. For a team with salary restrictions like the Warriors, he represents a potential steal, a high-level player with relatively low cost and tremendous growth potential. The Warriors are capped out and can't just sign max free agents, so finding value in trades for young players on rookie deals is how they have to operate. the opportunity for reaffirmation came up as a fascinating angle. After the failed trade with the Lakers due to injury concerns, a move to the Warriors could offer Williams the chance to prove his durability and impact in the league, overcoming any doubts about his health. There's probably some chip-on-the-shoulder motivation there to show the Lakers made a mistake and that the injury concerns were overblown. They started discussing what a trade package would look like. Williams is making around $7 million on his rookie contract, so the Warriors would need to match salary. Could you do something built around Jonathan Kuminga, who's been completely excommunicated from Kerr's rotation and is making similar money? Maybe Kuminga plus Moses Moody, who just had a rough game going 1 for 8 and posting a -15, potentially losing his starting spot. The analyst brought up how the Warriors are definitely going to make a trade, even though some beat writers are trying to temper expectations, saying it's very hard to make trade. The analyst thinks those writers are being used as mouthpieces by the organization to try to cool things down and manage fan expectation. But we're going to make a trade. The question is how big of a trade it will be. The rotation forming around a closing lineup was discussed as another reason why now is the time to make a move. Steph kind of spilled the beans post-game, saying, Will and Melton have defined roles in the closing lineup. They know what they're supposed to do, and they know what their role is. If Steph says it, that's your closing lineup. Steph, Will Richard, DeAnthony Melton, Jimmy Butler, and presumably either Wiggins or Draymond, depending on matchup. It's a little small depending on opponent, but what the analyst likes is they defend, the clamp cousins. And that's where adding someone like Mark Williams becomes even more important. You have your closing small ball lineup for certain matchups, but you need the ability to go big against teams with dominant centers. Williams gives you that flexibility to have multiple lineup options rather than being forced into one style. The Charlotte game breakdown provided context for these roster discussions. Brandon Podziemski had 19 points with 3 threes in the fourth quarter, essentially saving the day when it looked like the game might flip with LaMelo Ball getting hot. The analyst cracked up about how after Pods hit 3 straight threes and wanted the heat check attempt with his hands up, no one looked at him, and they went to a Steph backdoor cut instead, the Jordan Poole treatment. But Pods has been exactly what they need in the sixth-man role for at least 2 weeks now. This was the second game in a row on the road trip where it was about the others. Guy Santos, Pods, guys stepping up while Steph did his thing. That's what it has to look like in the middle of this long season. Melton at some point is going to start knocking down shots too, but the others have to carry in some games, especially against lesser talented teams. The opponent analysis was interesting too. Charlotte has talent with guys like Trey Mann, Con Knipple in the transcript, but I think he meant Trey Mann, who the analyst thought was obviously going to be good coming out of Duke. Brandon Miller looks like a young Paul George offensively, had 30 points on the Warriors with multiple dunks, and LaMelo Ball is a literal gunslinger shooting from the hip with a quick release. The analyst mentioned he'd like to see LaMelo paired with Cooper Flagg in Charlotte, which would be interesting. They wrapped up discussing Steph tweaking his ankle on the final possession in the Curry flows, his signature shoes, and how the amount of times Steph has hit the floor or had hard collisions on this 3-game road trip has been substantial and worrisome. The analyst suggested maybe resting Steph Friday against OKC, but acknowledged they never do that. Steph wants to play all the time and flexes his power within the organization on that specific point. What really struck me about this entire segment was how seamlessly they wove together New Year's resolution, player performance analysis, rotation discussions, and trade speculation into one coherent narrative. The Mark Williams discussion wasn't random. It was the logical conclusion of identifying the Warriors' needs: rim protection, rebounding, youth, championship window maximization, and proposing a specific, realistic solution. So what do you guys think? Should the Warriors be aggressive in pursuing Mark Williams, potentially packaging Kuminga and maybe Moody to get a young, athletic center who fits their timeline? And do you think Draymond really needs to get in better shape? Or is that being too harsh on a future Hall of Famer who's still contributing in other ways? Let me know in the comments, because after watching this comprehensive breakdown of the Warriors' situation, I'm pretty convinced they need to make a Significant move to have any chance of competing for a championship this year, while Steph is still playing at an elite level.